Welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Cole Poots. We are here with another music reaction, another Music Monday. Thank you guys for the support. Last week I did the Rich Men North of Richmond by Oliver Anthony, and that video is doing very well. I've received really supportive comments from you guys, and so I appreciate that so much. And this week we're gonna kind of continue that trend. We're gonna listen to Jason Aldean, Try That in a Small Town, and I'm gonna go through the official music video. I've heard that this song is really controversial for the things that he talks about, what he's saying in there, which I know a little bit about it and the message, and to me it doesn't sound controversial because I am probably going to agree with this guy on a lot of different things, but we shall see. Maybe there will be a few areas where I don't agree, but either way, it seems like it's an important message, and that is why, this video and this song is getting talked about so much. And it seems like even if it is heavily criticized or it's polarizing, it seems like there are also a lot of people that are supporting him. So without further ado, I am just going to get into this and see what happens. Jason Aldean, Try That in a Small Town. Official music video, here we go.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act the fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town, see how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town, full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town.
Great guitar.
Try that in a small town. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
right, Jason Aldean, try that in a small town. Yeah, so many things to talk about here. I don't see how this video and this song could be labeled as controversial because he's obviously talking about the BLM riots that we had back in 2020 after the death of George Floyd. You see so many visuals in this music video of footage of people basically rioting, looting, vandalizing. And I remember, because I've heard a few things about this song and about this video, and people were saying that in this song, he's insinuating violence by saying, try that in a small town. And I don't think that's it at all. If anything, this song feels like the anthem for fuck around and find out. And I do agree with him on pretty much everything that he said in here, you know, especially during that period in time. Like, I'm all for peaceful protest, but, you know, these people were so damn absurd in the fact that they were rioting and looting and vandalizing these businesses and not realizing that, you know, when you do all those things, as you being a taxpayer here in America, if you have a job, your hard-earned money is going to go to those places to fix that damage. And we are seeing this across the country where, because he says in the song, you know, maybe you can get away with that in a big city, which is where most of these protests would occur. But if you were in a small town, you did that, it would be a lot different as far as the result. But what we are seeing across America, especially in these big cities, especially in these liberal cities, you know, you got like Chicago, New York, if you go out to California, you got like LA and San Francisco. These places are shitholes, and none of the crime that is getting perpetuated ever gets solved, and these people don't get prosecuted. They get put in jail and arrested, and then they are let out right away and basically given free roam to go commit crimes once again. And so this song is just highlighting, you know, one of the many issues that is going on in America. I'm kind of confused, you know, why I want to know why Jason Aldean decided to release, or maybe this is an old song. I actually, you know, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of background on when this was released, but I'm assuming it's new, because it said it was premiered on July 14th of 2023 this year. I was going to say, you know, why did this message not come out sooner from Jason Aldean? But I don't know, maybe he's been working on music for the last few years, and so at that point in time when that happened, he wasn't ready to release it. I know it takes a while for a lot of artists to craft an album and songs and then plan out a calendar as to when they are going to release those things slowly. But yeah, he's hitting on an important issue. And again, I don't agree with people that say that this is him insinuating violence. No, I mean, one of the things that we have lost in America and society, culture, is people think that they can get away with certain things like this. Or, you know, social media and the internet has also really perpetuated this culture where people feel, for one, very entitled, even if they don't do anything to earn that entitlement. Like, you can live in America and sit on your ass and collect money from the government and be very dependent on their system, and yet somehow these people have a right to vote in our elections when they aren't contributing jack shit to the country. I completely disagree with that. I'm losing my train of thought. I had something else to say and now it's going. People feel entitled, but there is no more consequences for your actions. And what I was saying is that from social media, because people can hide behind the screen, they can hide behind their keyboard, they can say all these nasty things, they can do all these nasty things. There's no consequences right away. It used to be when we didn't have the internet and we didn't have screens, if you were around somebody and you guys had a disagreement, and maybe the person, you know, that you're arguing with, they said something that was completely out of line or completely disrespectful, or you saw them, I don't know, the first thing comes to mind, let's say if it's a man and a man versus man conflict, and one man spots the other man being disrespectful to a woman and maybe getting physical with her, obviously you are now potentially going to get your ass beat by the other man, because there's consequences for our actions. Typically, over the course of our history, that is how humans have operated. Now, social media, these social justice warriors, all these issues that have arisen in our country and that are going around the world, there hasn't been consequences for these people's actions for a long time. And like I was saying before, is especially in these liberal cities across America, you know, these people that commit these crimes are let out right away. And there's an obvious reason for that, which is to basically demoralize our country and make people not feel safe, you know, like the regular hardworking Americans who are like sitting here like, how are all these issues just purely coincidence as to why our country is getting washed down the drain? And it's not a coincidence. It's planned, it's organized, it's, like I said, it's been going on for a very, very, very long time, from the powers that be that are above us, the elite class, that are pushing all of this chaos into society, to make all of us feel hopeless, you know? And that's what was identified on that Oliver Anthony song. And we're just kind of extending it into this reaction, is Oliver Anthony is commenting on the state of our country and how ass backwards everything is, how men are putting themselves in the ground, how, you know, common Americans are working their asses off, living paycheck to paycheck, feeling like they can't get ahead in life. And, you know, a lot of that just comes down to our government and our media that are suppressing us, ultimately to discourage people and make them feel hopeless. Like we shouldn't have to struggle this much. And honestly, then, you know, with this video, Jason Aldean, the message that he's promoting, try that in a small town. We shouldn't be this divided. You know, that whole George Floyd thing was obviously a big deal, you know, caused an outrage, and you know, that is ultimately what they want. That's what the government wants. That's what the media wants. That's why the media thrives on stories like that, where they can pin it against race, or, you know, a lot of people, we talked about this in the last reaction with Oliver Anthony, a lot of people hate Trump because he says things that are outrageous in the way that he acts and all that. The media thrives off of dividing us, because when we are divided as citizens, as people, as Americans, when we are divided, it's a lot harder to come together and to actually see what is going on above us. And that's what they want. That is exactly what they want. They want division. They want us to hate each other. What is the saying? It's divided, or united we stand, divided we fall. And so, you know, when I look at things like this, like issues like this, I agree with the message. I mean, I think that, you know, people have to get more assertive and stand up for themselves and their beliefs, because for the longest time, especially on the left had no problem inserting their opinion into society and pushing people on the right, or even if you didn't identify with a political party, you know, they encroach their opinions on you. And so you're seeing this more and more across the country and across the world is with these issues, COVID, our current sitting president, like all these things, people are starting to bite back and are starting to get vicious. And I think that is why it is so important for people to wake up as soon as they possibly can, because if we keep going down this divided route, eventually it is going to turn into violence and people are going to start attacking. And I mean like in a physical means where, yeah, I don't think he's insinuating violence in this song, but he is basically stating that, hey, like if things like this are going to continue, like those regular common folk, hardworking, blue collar Americans are not going to sit around any longer. Like they're going to get up and they're going to revolt. And I'm honestly kind of surprised that it hasn't happened yet, because for most Americans, we have just been sitting back and taking so much abuse over, I don't know, I mean, 3 years for sure when COVID happened, but it even started before that, because before 2020, people didn't really realize how much propaganda was going on in our media and how much they were lying to us. And, going back to my point with Donald Trump is a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but a lot of the reasons why people don't like Donald Trump is because it comes back from that initial story about Russia collusion, which was not true. It was manufactured and made up by Hillary Clinton. So for a lot of people, they have this negative image of Donald Trump, but it's built on this false assumption of that story that I think it broke back in 2016 or 17. And so people have this image of him based on a lie, and they have let the media influence them and formulate their perceptions of somebody. It's no different than, and everybody can relate to this experience that I'm about ready to state. Have you ever, let's say you're in a work environment, you just started working at this place, you're on your first shift and you meet your first few coworkers and you start talking and, maybe you got some common ground with one of your coworkers and you're having an extended conversation. And then that coworker starts to tell you about the environment of the place that you work in and starts to talk about the other coworkers and says basically that, hey, like, be careful, keep your head on a swivel. This place is vicious. The other coworkers here that you have yet to meet, they will try and manipulate you. They will try and drag you down. They will lie to you. You are now starting to formulate an idea of who a person is, and yet you have not even met them. That has happened to me. That happened to me actually at my last job, where I was told about one of my coworkers and the fact that he was really lazy and that he didn't do anything at the job. And so before I met him, it was like I actually had this like really negative image of him. Like I kind of let my coworkers dictate my thoughts and my feelings towards this person before I even met him. And once me and him actually worked a shift together and did that on a regular basis, I was like, dude, you are not at all what other coworkers have told me about you. That's so crazy that I let these people influence my mind, and yet I hadn't actually went up and talked to the source. Now, it's going to be hard for people to meet Trump in person because obviously, that's probably just not going to happen. He's so damn busy running for president and now going through these legal issues. But I'm just trying to highlight that as an example, because that's what the media does, not just with people that they disagree with, but any story that they are telling you about or putting on the news, in some inherent way, they are trying to change your opinions on the situation or make you believe their agenda or their proposition or the angle that they're taking on the story. And that is why it is so important to, for one, not trust the media, but then two, to do your own research, to look for alternative opinions. Because this is what we do as humans. We get in our thought bubbles, we get in our thinking groups, and we associate with the ideology that we agree with the most, but then we never challenge ourselves to go outside of that bubble. So what we're doing, it's called confirmation bias, is we believe in this thing, and we may very well have many reasons as to why we should believe in that thing, but that can get quite dangerous. It's like I was talking about last week of the ego and these ideologies. They become part of our identity. And yeah, I understand, like, we all have certain beliefs, and there's areas where we draw a hard line, but when you become so definitive in that, you are now not growing whatsoever. You are being stagnant in that belief. And what if that belief, that ideology, that political candidate or that social issue that you are so passionate about and you were willing to die on the hill, what if it was false though? But because you did not have an open mindset to go look at different types of research or the opposing opinion, what if they have a valid argument? Because you are so dead set in your position, you will not even listen to other people's ideas. That's a dangerous place to be, and that's where most Americans are on many issues. But going back to my entire point, like with Donald Trump, is their image of this guy is based on the foundation of something that is not true, and now they've condemned him for all these years and think he's like fucking antichrist and needs to be out here. And I'm gonna stand on what I said last week. You need to look at, if the media and the government, politicians are going so hard against one person, it usually means that that person is on the right track, that they're making an impact, that they are going to come in and they are going to fuck up everybody else's shit. And if you look at the polls and you look at the numbers, most people believe that what is going on right now with Donald Trump is a witch hunt, and it's only making his base and his supporters grow stronger. So the politicians, the left that is out to get him, they're trying to get rid of him so he can't run in the election because they know that he's going to win. It's just a terrible strategy, and I think most Americans are starting to wake up to this. I've obviously had way more conversations about this stuff with people, and they think the same way. It's like, this man is unjustly attacked, and that's not how things work. You don't just because you're facing this guy in the upcoming election, well, here, this is how we take him out, let's just arrest him. It's like, there are a lot of things that Biden should be arrested for. So you don't see the right going to do that to the left. So it's just, honestly, man, it's really absurd. But I've gotten very far off track. As far as like the musical elements of this song, I'm not a big country fan, so I wasn't too keen on the sounds, but I really liked the guitar that was in there. I like the music video because there's a lot of visuals. It paints a very vivid picture, and I'd have to go back and listen to it one more time to get all the lyrics, but I pretty much understand the gist. I mean, it's talking about those BLM riots and how crazy people were acting after that. And he's basically just saying, like, hey, that's not fucking cool. That's not how you respond. We live in America where it's predicated on free speech, and you should be able to voice your concerns about societal issues, but you don't attack people. You don't be disrespectful to the police, because if we're going to go back to the issue of George Floyd and that whole thing that happened, not every policeman, policewoman is bad. That was a very unfortunate situation with what happened. But if you look at the backstory of George Floyd, being that he was on drugs, that he was a former criminal, like he was not Christ-like. But immediately, again, going back to my point of how the media outrages people, is immediately when you see this image of a white cop with his knee on a black man, and you give no prior context to your viewers about how this whole altercation just started, of course that is going to spark outrage. Immediately people are going to think like, oh, this is racism, this is white versus black. But if you don't get the full story, which is super important, like what was the lead up to that event? Was the guy resisting arrest? Was he not complying with the officers? Like that's an important part to the story. And you have to think for policemen, our law enforcement, they have to be some paranoid motherfuckers because of the people they deal with on a daily basis in their job. I commend them so much because that is a job that I could not do. They kind of have to be on edge and they always have to assume the worst because most of the people that they deal with could take off at a moment's notice. And so it's unfortunate that that happened. And I do partly agree that he probably should have been reprimanded in some case, meaning that the white officer, now he's put in jail. I do agree with that, but I don't think that all cops are bad, because after this whole thing happened, the argument was defund the police, get rid of the police. And it's like, okay, let's see how far that idea takes us. Like, we have to have law enforcement and we have to have protection. Otherwise, our country would really turn into chaos, and it's already going there. And certainly through the BLM riots, like we were seeing that, like people are just so disrespectful. People feel so entitled. And like I was saying earlier, it's been a long time since there's been any consequences for people's actions. So they think they can do these things and just get away with them. So to end this video, to end this message, to end this rant, I agree with what he's saying. I think it's very important, and I just find it funny that people are getting so triggered by this. It's like usually if you get triggered by something, that means it's true. But yeah, the music was good. It was pleasant to listen to. I'll probably go back and listen to it once or twice more. Again, probably the biggest thing that identified in that song was the guitar, the visuals, the music video. And at the end of the day, even if you disagree with this guy, if you're a liberal and you don't like conservatives, like this is the point of living in America, is we're all free to these ideas. So I hope you people don't come on this video that disagree with me and try and rip me open. I hope that people are open-minded to at least listen and consider some of these ideas, because honestly, one of the only ways as to how we get out of the situation that we're in right now is for the American population. Like, we got to get on the same level, despite what we disagree about. If it's politics, if it's religion, if it's sexual orientation, whatever it is, we're all entitled to our own opinions, our own beliefs, but we have to have this common interest and realize that the people above us in Washington, D.C. and around the world, the elite class that work together, this is all done in coordination. This is an attack to suppress our class so we can not thrive and live a very good, healthy life, because we are paying so much of our fucking money to the government and they don't fix things in our country. And so I am going to wrap up this rant, because I could go on and on and on, and I could talk all day about these issues. But at the end of the day, last 2 weeks, listening to Oliver Anthony and listening to Jason Aldean, I appreciate these messages because they serve a big fucking purpose. And I love that music can allow us to have these conversations, because it's music. There's just so many beautiful things about it. Usually you look at music and you look at comedy, and there's a lot of truth in those two areas in society. Comedians are definitely always telling the truth, and I think there's a lot of truth to be found in music, if we're talking about societal issues, things that are going on in the world. So anyways, I am going to end it right there. That was a long rant. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, we got 4 things here. Please like the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you found that this content was interesting, if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, if you were entertained, if you laughed, if you got angry, if you agreed with me, anything. Please subscribe, and then please share the message, you know? So if you got something of value from it, if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was entertaining, then please share the message. Tell somebody, tell a friend, share it to social media. And then also, please comment on the videos. You know, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, be respectful about it though. Like, don't be a fucking cock on this channel. But yeah, and then if you have any suggestions, if you have any music that you would like me to check out, please also just comment that in the comment section below. With all 4 of those things, it really helps push my videos into the YouTube algorithm, gets it in front of more eyes, gets more viewership, and I appreciate you guys so much because really over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, this channel has been growing at a pretty good rate, and I would like to keep it going that way because I put in so much work and so much effort to this channel, and I love doing this, and I'm only asking small things from you guys. One of those 4 things, that's all I ask. If you stayed here, if you watched it, if you got to the end, do one of those 4 things. Do me a solid. So thank you guys so much. I will see you on the next reaction. I love you guys. Take care.